Hello, I'm Dr. Lisa Pulaski from the Department of Nutrition and Food Studies at George Mason University. Welcome back to the discussion. Dr. Barry Popkin from the Nutrition Transition Program at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill has extensively studied the nutrition transition and called attention to its importance in public health. This slide shows his model concerning the stages of the nutrition transition. As industrialization increases, famine recedes, causing greater consumption of low-variety starchy foods. This leads to greater obesity-related diseases, as fat and sugar intake increases and activity decreases due to technology improvements. Such general changes have been seen in many countries around the world. Here I have noted some of the major causes of obesity in transitional countries. I will not go into the genetic causes, but instead focus on the environmental causes that are key to Popkin's model. As mentioned earlier, technology plays a great role in decreased energy expenditure. In the United States, many studies have found obesity to be related to an increase in computer use, a sedentary lifestyle, and an increase in fast food restaurants. Regarding computer use and technology, while many think the increase in obesity is due to too much time spent watching television and playing computer games, most of us should sit back and think about how even small changes in technology can impact our caloric expenditure. Do you remember a time when you had to manually change the TV channel or roll down your car window, or not press a button to open your garage door? Such activities may seem small, but if you were doing them every day over a period of several years, such a change might have a significant impact on your waistline. For example, rolling up and down your car window for a year could take off about 2.5 kilograms of fat. Lastly, one point I should make here is that specifically refers to those low-income and middle-income countries. It regards chronic undernutrition. Long-term undernutrition due to poor caloric and protein intake can lead to stunting in children. Several recent studies have shown that there is a higher risk of obesity later in life among stunted children. For the last few slides, I will outline some of the research I've done in middle and low-income countries, not only to ensure that you understand the concept, but to show that while obesity is simply caused by an increased caloric intake and decreased energy expenditure, such changes are often influenced by different external factors that may vary from country to country and culture to culture. Such differences can therefore influence intervention and policies aimed at preventing and reducing obesity. The first slide shows a photo of me collecting data way back in 1997 in Mali in West Africa. At the time, obesity was really unknown. Today, however, it affects 21% of its population. Obesity is more prevalent in women in Mali. Culture plays a role in the rise of obesity there, as women who are larger and heavier are often considered to be more beautiful, particularly in an area where stunting and malnutrition were extremely common and could impact whether you might have a child or be able to work. Here you see such extreme differences between adults and children. In Mali, several researchers have shown that adults typically receive greater nutrient-dense foods and a greater quantity of food compared to young children. Such cultural eating behaviors can create major differences in nutritional status across age group. Increasing risk of chronic undernutrition, as mentioned earlier, can also increase your risk for obesity later in life. In other cultures, there may be greater differences in food intake between males and females. So as Mali develops more roads and our people are more able to afford transportation, we can begin to see reduced energy expenditure. Mali is also extremely hot all year long, and avoiding walking in the heat for long periods of time is very much desired. As roads improve and access to processed food increases, we may often find people are displacing their high nutrient dense fruits and vegetables for those high caloric starchy foods. In Mali, meat is considered a high-status food. More often, it is given to the eldest in the family. But as the cost goes down, more children gain access, again improving nutrition. However, such improvements also bring those high-starch, high-calorie, low nutrient-dense foods that children desire. In Nicaragua, overall access to food and transportation is relatively good in the urban areas, and particularly in Managua. However, one of the issues that plagues Nicaraguan households is fear. Most barrios or communities are formed from rural families migrating from regions all over Nicaragua to search for better jobs or a safer location. Many were displaced from hurricanes and conflict, political conflict. Often neighbors who were used to living in communities with extended families are now living next to strangers. Many Nicaraguans report that they stayed at home watching TV only to ensure their things were not stolen. Also, in such communities, markets, large supermarkets, are relatively far, and those that are afraid to leave home for long periods of time can only rely on those local 7-Eleven type convenience stores to purchase food, decreasing their availability to high nutrient dense fruits and vegetables. Here's some data that I collected in 2002 showing the prevalence of overweight in children. At the time, the prevalence was actually equivalent to the prevalence in the United States, and today it's even greater in Nicaragua. Photos of local food stores in the barrios here. Note that these are the kinds of stores that provide the greatest amount of food to the specific barrio I worked in, and this is not uncommon throughout Nicaragua. These small stores provide lots of high-starch, low nutrient-dense foods, and we see very few fruits and vegetables. Across the globe, there are direct correlations with those who eat few fruits and vegetables and higher amounts of obesity. And in fact, due to such low fruit and vegetable consumption, what many global studies are showing is that while individuals are consuming in excess of overall calories, they are increasingly becoming micronutrient deficient, as their micronutrient requirements go up with weight and calorie needs. Increasing such nutrient-dense foods is often incorporated in obesity prevention and intervention programs. Thank you for participating in this discussion. I wanted to conclude with re-emphasizing that obesity is not only found in wealthy nations like the United States, it is becoming a crisis in many low and middle-income countries, creating a dual burden for such nations to have to deal with problems related to stunting and undernutrition, as well as now obesity and chronic diseases, draining often the already strained healthcare systems. It is also important to recognize that there is not one answer to the problem of obesity across the globe. Obesity may need to be measured differently from place to place and can be influenced very differently from environmental and cultural factors. When developing policy and interventions, such differences and variations are critical to solving such an issue.